Okay, it looks like everyone is in from the waiting room, so I think we can go ahead and get started. So hi, everyone. My name is Kelly Anderson, and I am the graduate chair of in the Department of Epidemiology and Biostatistics. And I'm here today to give an overview of our graduate program, admission requirements, application requirements, and what you can expect from our program. Sarah, did you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, thanks. I'm Sarah Guerrero. Some of you, if you've emailed to epibio@uwo.ca already, you might recognize my name, but I'm the academic programs coordinator and able to answer any questions about applying that you may have.
Great, thanks. So just so everyone's aware, we are recording this session just for the presentation part, and then we will turn off the recording and have a discussion or question and answer period afterwards. But if at any point during my presentation you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand or turn on your camera and unmute yourself and ask your question. That's totally fine as well. So, oh, sorry, I'm just having trouble advancing my slides. There we go. So epidemiology is literally, the word literally means to study upon people or to study upon populations. And it's the branch of science that looks at distributions and risk factors for different diseases within a population. And it also can be broadened to include things like looking at determinants of access to care in the healthcare system, quality of care, things like that. These are all areas that epidemiologists work under. And, you know, for our fields, COVID-19 has sort of brought a whole lot of awareness to what it is that epidemiologists do. You know, it wasn't uncommon several years ago for people to really not have any understanding at all as to what epidemiology was and the type of work that we do. But whether we like it or not, people are now much more aware of the role of epidemiology and the type of work that we do. So epidemiology is the science of understanding causes and distribution of health. And we do this with a goal of trying to intervene to improve the health of the population. So I sort of like to think of it as, you know, physicians will work to improve health and prevent disease at an individual level. And epidemiologists are trying to achieve that, but our focus is the population and population health. Epidemiology and biostatistics are very closely linked. So biostatistics is a branch of statistics that's concerned with the collection, analysis, and interpretation of scientific data from a wide range of health areas that are relevant to biomedical sciences. So biostatistics is really crucial to what we do in epidemiology and how we understand those patterns of disease at a population level. So our department, as you've seen from the title slide, is known as Department of Epidemiology and Biostatistics, and we have a field of studies in both. But epidemiologists use biostatistics all the time, and biostatisticians need to have a good understanding of epidemiology to be able to do the work that they do. So these two fields are really very closely intertwined. So this schematic just sort of outlines what our program is and how we function. So to start off, as I mentioned, we do have two fields of study, and we have master's and PhD programs in both fields of study. So at the time of application, you're asked to select whether you would prefer to be in the epidemiology field of study or whether you would prefer to be in the biostatistics field of study. As I mentioned before, they are closely linked. So epidemiology students will receive strong training in biostatistics, And likewise, biostatistics students are required to take some of the core epidemiology courses to get a solid foundation in epidemiological principles. So the main difference between the two fields of study is that students in biostatistics would typically be working on research that aims to develop or validate biostatistical methods, whereas epidemiology students would be more likely to have a project that was focused on a substantive research area. And the focus of those projects would be more on the application of biostatistic principles rather than developing new methods as a biostatistics student might be doing. So trainees in our program do come from a wide range of different academic backgrounds. Aside from Western, there really aren't any undergraduate programs in epidemiology and biostatistics anywhere in Canada. And so because of that, it's not like in a chemistry program where if you're doing grad school in chemistry, you're taking students whose undergrad was in chemistry. Since we're not able to do that, we do have a really wide range of different backgrounds that our trainees will come from. So many will come from medical and health sciences. We'll get a large proportion who come from basic sciences, as well as social sciences. And then we do require that students who are applying to our biostatistics field of study have a degree in math and statistics or some other quantitative degree. About a third to a half of students will come to our program having taken a course in epidemiology prior to our program. But we really do kind of start from the beginning on day one to make sure that everyone has a really solid foundational understanding of core concepts in these areas. So we have a wide range of different faculty members appointed to our department. So we, at last count, I think we had over 80 faculty members, more than 25 core faculty members in epidemiology and biostatistics. And then the vast majority of our faculty are cross-appointed faculty. And the reason for this is because epidemiology is very interdisciplinary. So we have a lot of particularly clinicians who are cross-appointed to our department and work very closely with the core epidemiologists and biostatistics to conduct the research that they do and to train the trainees in our program. If you go to our department website, you'll also see that we have different research clusters or clusters of expertise within our department. So some of these clusters, which you can see in the top right-hand corner, are related to substantive areas of expertise. So things like chronic disease and multimorbidity, global health, marginalized populations and social determinants, mental health and addictions. These are all areas where we have clusters of expertise within the department. And so if you're interested in working in these areas, we do have a strong faculty complement that's doing work in this area. We also have clusters related to methodological approaches and expertise in specific disciplines or methodological areas. And you can see these in the bottom right-hand corner. So things like clinical epidemiology, biostatistics, obviously health economics, health services research, randomized trials. So these are methodological areas of expertise that our faculty are also working under and have expertise in. And so many faculty will lie across multiple different clusters of expertise. And you can have a look at those different clusters to help you to identify people who might be working in areas that you're interested in. Graduates from our program are very employable when they finish our program and get great jobs in the field, and especially well, from both programs, master's and PhD, but master's grads especially are really in high demand and get excellent jobs. So working for places with the government, for example, in public health units as analysts, working in industry, lots of different fields, lots of different areas, and our grads are highly employable at the end of our program. So in terms of admission requirements, so for our epidemiology program, for master's students, we require that they have a 4-year honors degree or equivalent with a minimum average of 80% or an A- in their last 2 years of full-time studies. And we also require that students have previously taken a statistics course and done well in it. So if you are thinking of applying and you haven't yet taken a course in statistics, or you took one previously but you didn't do so well, you might consider taking that in the winter term to make sure that you meet our admission requirements, because that is an absolute requirement to have that prior background in statistics. For our PhD program, we require that students have a 2-year thesis-based master's degree. So course-based masters or programs that had a capstone project, for example, are not accepted as a requirement of admission. It has to be a research-based, thesis-based master's degree. Again, PhD students are expected to have an average of at least 80% in their graduate level coursework. And similar to the master's students, are expected to have strong performance in a prior statistics course. For our PhD program, it's not required that you have a master's degree in epidemiology specifically. So it could be from a number of different areas. If you are coming to us from a very different master's program, then you're advised to give some really concrete examples as to why the change in direction and how this PhD will fit with your broader training goals and plans. For our biostatistics program, as I mentioned previously, we require students to have a 4-year honors degree from a quantitative discipline. So most students in the biostats program would have a degree in math or statistics. And similar to the epidemiology program, we also require a minimum average of 80% or an A- in the last 2 years of full-time studies. Similar requirements for our PhD program in biostatistics. So we would require a master's degree from a quantitative discipline. Unlike our epidemiology program, we do not require a thesis-based master's for our biostats program. And we again require a minimum average of 80%. Oh, sorry about that, for our PhD program in biostatistics. So the application requirements include a current CV, as well as transcripts from all post-secondary institutions that you attended. You're also asked to write a statement of academic interest. So in this statement, you're not expected to, identify a specific research topic or thesis topic that you're planning to study during your degree, but rather broader research areas that you might be interested in working in. And it's helpful to have a look at our website, see the list of opportunities that have been posted, and identify a few people whose research interests align with what you're interested in working on during your master's degree. We also require 2 letters of reference, as well as English proficiency test scores for international students. This is the link to the list of opportunities that I mentioned. So on our website, you'll have a list. You'll find a list of all faculty accepting master's students, as well as faculty who are accepting PhD students in the current admission cycle. And each faculty has been asked to provide a short description of the types of projects that students might be expected to work on if they were to join their research program. So I'd strongly encourage you to have a look, see which projects resonate with you, which ones seem the most interesting to you. And you can identify these supervisors and these projects when you're preparing your statement of interest. This page also has a description of the types of funding that supervisors potentially might have available to students in the program. And there's a number of ways that grad students in our program are funded. So the first is through departmental support. So this is in the form of a Western Graduate Research Scholarship, which is provided for 2 years for master's students and 4 years for PhD students. The amount of these is $3,000 for domestic master's students, and I believe $7,000 for domestic PhD students. And these are granted to all students who are accepted into the program. The supervisor who you are matched with at admission may have graduate research fellowship funding available to you. This is funding that's provided in the form of a stipend to you. And it's really just financial support for all activities related to your graduate training. So it's financial support for you while you're completing your coursework and writing your thesis. And it's paid by your supervisor, typically from one of their research grants. Supervisors may also have graduate research assistantship funding available. This is more of an employment relationship between a student and a supervisor, where a supervisor will hire you to engage in activities related to their program of research. So this is more of an employment relationship, whereas the graduate research fellowship is financial support for you related to your training and thesis activities. So the supervisors do differ in terms of whether or not they have fellowships or research assistantships available to graduate students. When you're looking through the list of posted opportunities, that may be something you might want to take note of. I'll also note that there's no obligation for supervisors to provide a fellowship or a research assistantship to master's students, but there are minimum funding levels set by the university for PhD students. So all PhD students will receive a financial package that will be comprised of one or more of these things. We also have graduate teaching assistantships available, but these are only available to students in year 2 and beyond, because students need to take the core courses in our program before they're eligible to be a TA for those courses. So those may be available for students in the second year. And then, of course, there are always external scholarships that students can apply for as a means of additional funding to support their graduate training. And so here's just a list of some of the main scholarship opportunities that will be available to you to apply for. So things like OGS, or the Ontario Graduate Scholarship, and CIHR for students in epidemiology, or NSERC for students in biostatistics. Many students think that they can't apply for these as incoming students, and you absolutely can. So these scholarship applications do involve a one-page description of the type of the research that you're planning to be working on. And so I think that's sometimes what deters students from applying for these, because they don't really know yet what exactly they'll be working on. But you can reach out to supervisors in the department, let them know that you're interested in applying for these scholarships. and ask, for example, if they could help you draft a proposal, or you could propose, a project that you think you would like to work on, but without knowing for sure whether you'd be able to work on that specific project. But you're in no means tied to the project that you write about or describe in your application. So you definitely are eligible as incoming students to be applying for these competitions. I'd also encourage you to go to our website and have a look at the types of courses that you will be taking as students in epidemiology and biostatistics. So on the left-hand side is the list of courses for master's and PhD students in epidemiology. So as I said before, all epidemiology students get core training in biostatistics. So you can see a number of biostatistic courses that are required for epidemiology students. So there's 2 required statistics courses and 3 required epidemiology courses, and then a range of different elective courses that can be taken during your time in the program. One thing you'll notice is that our elective courses in epidemiology are quarter courses, which means they are 6 weeks in length rather than a half-term course like you might be used to that would run from September to December, or from January to April, so a half credit course. So we have quarter courses that would run for half of the typical term. And so we did this because it gives students a little bit more flexibility in terms of the elective courses that they take, and allows them to take a range of different topics, or take courses in a range of different topics. On the right-hand side are the courses that are required for the biostatistics field of study. Again, similar to the EPI students, the biostat students are taking epidemiology courses as well to make sure they get that foundational knowledge. And they're taking a range of biostatistics courses offered both by our department as well as by the math and statistics department. Oh, sorry about that. Not sure why these slides are advancing so quickly. Okay, so time to completion. So our master's program is 6 terms in length, so 2 years. And our PhD program is 12 terms in length, or 4 years. There is the option for master's students who are very strong and who do well in their core coursework. There is the option to apply to transfer into the PhD program. So this is typically reserved for students who are in the top of their cohort and would require agreement of a supervisor within the department who's willing to take you on as a PhD student and provide the required funding commitments. But there is, if PhD is something that you're interested in, there is that option to apply to transfer after the first year of the program. I'll also just direct you to this page on our department website, where you can find a list of recently published graduate student theses. So this is just a really great way to get a sense of the type of research that students in our department are engaged in. It might help you identify some potential supervisors whose work you might be interested in, and is a great way to get a sense of the type of work that you'll be doing as a master's or PhD student in our department. So I will finish the formal presentation there. Here's the contact information if you have any questions about our program or the application process. But both Sarah and I are available here now to answer any questions that anybody has. So before we get started, I'll just stop recording and stop sharing the slides.